In front of me are the best drivers that have been released this year. We've got Titleist, TaylorMade, Cobra, Callaway, Ping, Kirkland Signature, Tour Edge, and Mizuno. In this video, I put all these drivers head to head to find out what's the best driver that's been released in 2024. Now, I've reviewed every single one of these drivers independently, but I thought I'd do a video where I put them all together and compare these drivers on a number of factors and features, such as looks, distance, finding fairway, price is a big one as well, and giving it an overall view to see which driver out of these actually comes out on top. Now, I've done all that testing, and spoiler alert, the winner is a bit of a shock. Okay, let's kick things off with looks. Now, I understand it's subjective, it's my opinion on the looks of these drivers. I know what I like to see, might differ from other viewers. But for me, I've been testing product for 12 years, I've been playing golf for a long time, so I know what I like behind the golf ball. I also know what I don't like. For me, out of these 8 drivers, there's ones that I love the look of, and there's ones that just don't particularly suit my eye. In last place, I'm sorry to say this, is the Mizuno. There's just a lot going on. I've never quite understood Mizuno's driver identity. They've tried so many different things, from blue drivers to kind of these black drivers, but then throwing in a bit of blue underneath. It just looks a bit basic. Looks a bit cheaper, to be honest with you, and it's not a particularly cheap driver. So for me, the Mizuno, unfortunately, has been ranked the least amount of points. Now, how I'm doing this, I understand looks is subjective, so I'm not giving as much weight to the points. So that gets half a point for its total tally. And the best looking driver, in my opinion, will be getting 4 points. I feel like that's fair. So then for me, second to last is the Tour Edge. Not super ugly, it's not, it just sits a little bit closed. I actually quite like the matte crown, but it's just like I say, behind the ball, it just sits a little bit too far to the left for me. You know I don't play right, I'll put up a good fight, just give me the word, And the Ping for me, again, there's a lot going on. Turbulators on top. I actually like the look, as in the finish. I like this matte finish. But there's just a lot going on when you've got the turbulators on top. Again, I know they've had that for a while, but I don't know. It's just never quite, I've never loved the turbulators. And just, I don't know, maybe the yellows, the little flicks of colour, just not brilliant. I feel like they could do a much better job of that. Then we go into the Kirkland Signature. There's actually quite a lot I like about the look of the driver, but it just doesn't look maybe super premium. You know, the finish isn't absolutely perfect. It's a good head shape, but unfortunately it's not the best looking driver out of this setup. H.I.T. It's a nice head shape behind the golf ball, but I've just never quite understood this, it not being symmetrical, asymmetrical as they've called it. It just doesn't sit great from this angle. Now, I know people won't see that behind the golf ball, I understand that, but from a visual standpoint, it's not the best looking driver. Then we go into AI Smoke. Actually, when it first came out, I loved the look of this driver. It's just maybe not grown on me as much as I thought it would have done. It's kind of gone the opposite way. The more I see it, I'm like, maybe I don't like it as much as I originally did. I think it looks great behind the golf ball, but again, I think it can date quite quickly, the Callaway driver. So Mizuno half a point, Tour Edge 1 point, Ping 1.5, Kirkland 2 points, TaylorMade H.I.T 2.5 points, Callaway AI Smoke 3 points. Then we move into second place, Dark Speed. I actually really like the look of this driver this year. This is the Dark Speed Max. Love the black finish on the crown. I think I love that matte finish, it's beautiful. And underneath it, just simple, it's quite symmetrical, doesn't offend me. Really, really nice looking driver. So that gets 3.5 points, and then number 1 spot, the Titleist GT2. Now, so simple, like really is classic pear shape. If I could change anything, I would maybe make that top of the crown matte, but apart from that, it is absolutely gorgeous. A perfect looking driver, full marks for the Titleist driver. So it moved quite nicely now onto price. And as much as I've been raving about the Titleist looks, it actually gets the worst points in the price category because it's £579, so it only gets 2 points. The Ping G430 next is the second most expensive, so that gets 3 points. Then next up is the Callaway, £499, so that gets 4 points. The TaylorMade QI10, 5 points. Cobra Dark Speed, getting 6 points. The price is starting to come down, so the points go up. In joint, second place is the Mizuno and the Tour Edge at £299, so that gets 7 points each. And then the last one, Kirkland Signature, £199. I mean, you can think about that. It's 579, that's 199. So this gets 2 points, this gets 8 points, and that's gonna have a huge effect on the total scores at the end of this test. Okay, now it's time, however, to get to the nuts and bolts, the performance of these drivers. Now, as I mentioned, I've reviewed all of these drivers in the past, but we had a full day in the HIT studio testing these drivers, getting a bit of a sweat on. And we wanted to work out carry distance, total distance, and also dispersion. How many times am I actually hitting the fairway with these drivers? How forgiving are they, basically? Okay, so kicking things off, let's start off with the TaylorMade first. Now, if you've watched the channel for a long time, you know I look to try and aim to carry the ball about 280 yards, and anywhere kind of between 50 to 60% fairways hit is a good number for me. Often I'll miss the fairway a little bit, sometimes I'll miss it by a long way, but 50-60% is good for me. So TaylorMade QI10 Max. This isn't for me the longest driver I've tested this year at all, but it's aimed at forgiveness. So the carry distance I was getting with this driver on average was 272 yards, total distance 287 yards, and fairway percentage, this is where it did really well, 70% of fairways hit with this driver. That's done really, really well. I'll show what that does to the points later on. Moving into the Callaway AI Smoke, this was a beast. Like, I was hitting this on average 284 yards for a total distance of 295 yards. So in this test, the longest driver I tested was the Callaway AI Smoke. However, it only hit 30% of fairways. So it was long, but I wasn't finding the short grass. Titleist GT2. So I was carrying this 281 yards, perfect. Total distance, 292 yards, perfect. Fairways, 40%. A little bit lower than what I'd love, but it's not bad. Like, that's not terrible, to be fair, 40% of fairways. Okay, so moving into the Ping G430 Max, the 10K Max. Now, this driver has had a lot of attention this year, and before doing this test, I found out a lot in this test. If someone had asked me, what's the best driver released this year? I might have been tempted to say this. I think it offers huge levels of forgiveness, and I've seen golfers that I've played with hit this an awfully long way. However, we needed to properly test it. So on average carry distance, I was getting 276 yards of carry, good numbers. Total distance, 290 yards. And I was expecting, maybe naively, this was gonna 100% of fairways. It ended up hitting 50% of fairways, which isn't bad. I'd be happy with that, genuinely. But maybe not as well as I expected it to perform with the Ping. Cobra Dark Speed, 278 yards of carry distance, perfect. 290 yards of total distance, brilliant. 30% of fairways hit, not very good. Same as the Callaway, but it wasn't as long as the Callaway. I expected more from the Cobra, I did. I expected more fairways being hit, to be fair, but that wasn't the case. Okay, now I've got 3 drivers here on the right-hand side that, I don't know, maybe I ruled out. Maybe I didn't expect much from this test. Maybe I was wrong. I'm going to go with the Tour Edge first. Now this, on average carry distance, was 279 yards. Perfect. Total distance, 294 yards. Perfect. 60% fairways hit. Perfect. I mean, well, not perfect, but pretty damn good. 60% of fairways hit at those sort of distances is pretty good. I was very impressed with the Tour Edge. Kirkland Signature. Again, the price on this, £199. This was giving me average carry distance, 277 yards for 289 yards of total distance, 50% fairways. It's beat some of the big branded drivers. Like that £199 driver has beat some of the drivers that are the more expensive models, which is crazy. And then last but not least, the Mizuno. Now this was the shortest in testing. On average, 268 yards of carry distance for 285 yards of total distance. But get this, 80% of fairways hit. That's ridiculous, 80%. Like I'd never hit 80% of fairways hit. So as much as it was shorter, without question, so it'll lose points, it gained points enormously because it hit the most fairways. So with all that being said and everything being considered, from the looks, getting half points, to the price, to the distance and the forgiveness, let's see how that all stacks up. Really interestingly, in this test, in 8th place, in last place, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Ping.
You know I don't play right. I'll put up a good fight. Just give me the word.
The Ping scored quite a measly 12.5 points. Most of that to do with the price, and then the fact it just wasn't hitting that many fairways. And in joint second to last place were these two, the Mizuno and the TaylorMade. Now interestingly, these were the most forgiving drivers. However, they were shortest, so they lost points. And in my personal opinion, in this category, they were the worst looking drivers. Now again, that's personal opinion. I think if you like the look of these drivers and you want forgiveness, these are really good considerations. They're just not the longest in these two models, in the more forgiving models. In 5th place, the Titleist. Now, as much as this did very nicely on the testing, really good on distance, really good on forgiveness, I think, and really good on looks, the price just let it down. The most expensive out of this lineup, and unfortunately that did affect the overall scores. If you're not worried about money, this is definitely a really strong consideration. In 4th place, Cobra Dark Speed. Again, it kind of just did nicely overall. Nothing spectacular, but nothing horrendous. Not too expensive, not too cheap, nice looking, not ugly, okay for distance, not short, decent on fairways. So it kind of just did okay. That's why I suppose it's right in the middle of the pack. Okay, this is really interesting top 3. So we've got these 3 drivers. The Callaway, the Kirkland, the Tour Edge. Not a top 3 we expected at all. And in 3rd place is the Callaway AI Smoke. Crazy. Now, again, I think looks-wise it did very nicely. Price-wise it did okay. Distance it did outstanding. The longest driver, without questioning this test, but only 30% fairways hit. That's what affected the Callaway driver. But anyway, still finished in 3rd place. I'm sure it can hit more fairways. It's capable of hitting fairways, but in this test, it just did not hit enough fairways to get into, to penetrate these two, to end up becoming 1st or 2nd place. Now again, who would have thought this? Kirkland Signature, £199 driver from Costco and Tour Edge driver. A driver typically seen on the seniors tour. But they've done really well in this test. Price was a big factor, definitely. Looks was still a factor. But overall, like the consistency of distance and accuracy, got to give credit where credit is due. In second place with 19 points was Kirkland. The Kirkland Signature. It's a really good driver. It's crazy, I know, it's just a really solid driver. It doesn't have the R&D and the research that the big boys have. It's taken some inspiration from some of the big brands, yes, but it doesn't go out and pay tour pros. It's kept the price really low. It's obviously wholesale in Costco. They own the company. But every Costco golf club I've tested and ball has been really good. There's no question, I can't deny that. It's been awesome. Second place was the Kirkland Signature. But in first place, did I ever expect this result? No. Was it an interesting experiment? Yes. It's this, the Tour Edge. Solid price, like really nice price point. Nice looks, a little bit offset, a little bit towed in, but if you can get over that, it's fine. Solid performance, distance-wise. Solid performance on the forgiveness model. Your first place driver for 2024 is this, the Tour Edge 725. Guys, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.